In 2004, my mother died unexpectedly of an aneurysm, and so the family all gathered and we were in shock and trying to deal with her death in the summer. And that Christmas we didn't have enough, I guess you'd say, guts to all go home without her that first Christmas, and so we told Dad that we weren't going to go there for Christmas, but he was welcome at any of our homes for Christmas. And so he decided to visit my sister in New Jersey. And on his way to the airport, the 23rd of December, to catch a flight to fly from Alabama up to New Jersey, he was rear-ended by a semi-truck and killed instantly. And what happened was there was just a minor fender bender along the freeway that morning. It was early in the morning, 6 o'clock, it was dark, but it was a clear morning. Straight piece of freeway, shouldn't be any incident, but there was a minor fender bender and the police and the EMTs were already there. And they were moving all the traffic over to the left lane to get around this accident. And Dad moved over, the semi-truck in front of him moved over, Dad moved over successfully, and a car behind Dad moved over successfully, and they were going about 14 miles an hour. And the semi-truck behind the car in back of Dad never stopped. And the car in back of Dad saw him coming in his rearview mirror and moved into the median, but Dad wouldn't have seen him, and we hope. And so Dad was rear-ended and pushed into the semi-truck in front of him. And when it all came to a stop, the driver jumped out of his truck and said, "I'm sorry, I was asleep." I mean, I'm sure his truck company didn't train him to do that, but he jumped out, and because there were already EMT people there were all sorts of witnesses. And they tried to revive Dad, but he was gone instantly. So the reason we're here now is my sister was on the way to the airport to pick up Dad. And instead she got a call from a coroner asking what she wanted him to do with the body. So the Christmas that we all said we couldn't go, Christmas morning, we were all there at the house without either of them. And so Dad had set up a Christmas tree. He said, he told us he had done that, and he said, "I'm going to put up a tree even without Mom, just to prove that I can keep on keeping on." And so we walked into the house Christmas Eve, and there was a tree. And we spent Christmas Day sitting around looking at each other because there was nothing we could do that day. Everything's closed. Couldn't talk to an attorney or anybody. And it just felt very ironic that we had said, "Dad, we can't handle being home for Christmas this year." And yet there we all were, home for Christmas without anybody there. So we're involved in truck safety now. Everybody feels like they wish they could not have this happen to anybody else. Everybody wants that, and everyone wants their loved one to have a purpose in dying like that. And that's why we're here, but the irony of it is that since 2004, when Dad died, 20,000 more families have gotten that phone call. 5,000 people a year. 4 years, 20,000 families. And sometimes it feels frustrating that we're not making any progress. But in the long run, I know it's a long-term project, and I often think that sometimes the family has already saved lives we just won't ever know, just by talking about it. And I know that some of the people I've talked to have said, every time I see a semi-truck, I think of your dad. And I'll say, just pay attention when you're driving your trucks. Pay attention. Don't let them come up on the back of you, and stay out of their way and give them wide berths. And maybe just saying that will have saved a life. And my rule is, if I saved one life, then we're even. What we'd really like to see is the onboard recorders mandated in all trucks, large and small. And some of the arguments truck companies have thrown out about that is it's too much money, which is sort of ridiculous because it's not a lot of money. And then they also say if they have to play by the rules, then they'll be at a disadvantage with companies that aren't playing by the rules. If their drivers have to stop, the other drivers will make the loads and make the money. And our feeling is if they're on all trucks, then the playing field's equal. And we want them on large trucks and small trucks so the little guys don't get shut out either. But the onboard recorder would have recognized that the particular driver in our incident, if we go by his logbooks, and it looks like he never stopped to put gas in, he never went to the bathroom, he never slept. I mean, he never did anything. He just drove straight through from Louisiana to Atlanta. And we would have known he would have had to stop. He could have stopped at the Georgia-Alabama border at the rest stop, which was only 5 miles back. Or he could have stopped at the way station. Dad was killed right in front of a way station if he felt sleepy, but he didn't do that because his dispatcher had said it was a hot load and it needed to get there for Christmas. It was electronics for Christmas. So the onboard recorders is a very important aspect of what we're trying to accomplish. I think the purpose is twofold. One is to provide a place where we can all get together with other people that know exactly what we've been through and how we've been through it, and that the grief that we go through with a sudden violent death is different than the grief we might go through if we lost a loved one to illness. And everybody in the room knows exactly what that feels like, and it's a place where you can talk about it and cry and it's all right, even years down the line, because out in the real world, you go out 1 or 2 years and people are kind of like, yeah, I heard that. You know, you should be over that by now. You're still dwelling there. It's not healthy. And in general, we are dwelling fine out in the real world, but we still have this intense pain inside that we don't think anybody understands. And here, we can talk to someone 5, 10, 15 years, and it's all right to still feel those feelings and let them out. So it's a place to lay that on the table and let it go again. So the second purpose of the conference is to help us recognize the power that we've got as far as making legislative changes. And before this happened, I am not a political person. I didn't get involved with anything. It sort of bored me. I wasn't interested, didn't know how it worked. And coming here, you can learn how it works. And I can't tell you, the first time I walked into a Senate building with an appointment to see my senator, which I had no idea you could do as a person. I thought you needed to be a lobbyist or a group or somebody important. I never felt important. The first time I walked into a Senate building with an appointment to see my senator and got a chance to talk to the aide and explain my story and ask for their support on an issue and walked out the door, I thought, wow, that was really cool, and it made me feel good, made me feel like I was finally doing something constructive. And I think it's just an empowering thing to give you back some of the strength that you lost. Takes you out of the confusion that you've been living in and gives you a purpose. Everybody needs a purpose, a place to put the pain and the anger and focus it on something that will actually make a difference and create something positive out of this horrible place that you've been and empower you, make you stronger and feel like you have a voice. And I think that's the second part of Sorrow to Strength. That's the strength.